folks!
Hey Lupa!
Welcome to another video.
Today we are doing the mid-year freakout tag, which was created by Ellie and Shami, and we'll link them down below. We thought this was a good way to wrap up
This first half of the year.
Yes.
There's been quite a lot of reading in the first half.
Yes, I broke my goal to read 50 books this year.
What's the first question?
The best book you read so far in 2021?
Mine was Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Just really good. I don't know how to describe it. It's very whimsical. There's mystery, and you get to the end and you wish there were more.
I have two books. So one is this one, which is You and Me on Vacation by Emily Henry. I read this on my birthday and I really liked it. It was just like the perfect romance read I needed, and it was a very fast read. I liked the characters. I thought it just built really well. And the other book is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, which I thought was really good in terms of like the historical aspect, and it's kind of like two families orbiting each other, so them coming together and being separated and so on. And it dealt with like a lot of issues that I thought was handled really well.
The next question is, what was the best sequel that you've read so far?
So yeah, I have 3 books, which were my favorite sequels. This one, which was actually my first read of the year, it's not a sequel technically, but it's like in the same universe as the Cruel Prince books, or Folk of the Air. I thought this was really good. It was really short, like it took me not even a day to read it. It's like a nice little kind of a continuation of what happens in the last book, which I thought was really nice. And then this guy, fantasy romance, gotta love it. I thought the sequel was really good because it like developed the relationship between the two main characters really well. Recommend the series if you want some fantasy romance. And last but not least, Darius the Great Deserves Better. I really liked the first one, but I thought the second one also had some really good qualities. I thought it dwelled more into Darius' sexuality and like his home life a little bit more obviously than the first one, which was interesting to read about. Yeah, overall, like this duology is really good, and I kind of wish that there's a third book coming out.
For me, it was Les 8 coups de l'horloge by Maurice Leblanc. So this is in the Arsène Lupin series. It may be like number 8 or something. There was a first book that I really liked, and then some of the sequels were a bit less good. And then this one really kind of brought back what I had liked about the character and what I kind of wanted from a mystery story. It's a collection of 8 shorter stories where he's like on a train or something, and he overhears a conversation and he's like, oh, there's some mischief I can immerse myself into. And he does it with like this woman that he's trying to kind of woo, and he's kind of like, well, you know, if I can do these 8 adventures with you by the end of December, then you have to kiss me. And she's like, okay, you'll never do it. It's just a kind of a fun, lighthearted romp, you know?
No high stakes.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Not like some of the other ones where they're trying to get like political. This one's just like 3 months of him trying to impress this girl and she's not at all impressed with him, which is great.
A new release that you haven't read yet.
So my pick is War of the Beasts and the Animals by Maria Stepanova. I got this, I think, in March, and it just looks kind of interesting. I really like the title, but I just haven't quite got around to reading it yet, but I think I possibly will very soon.
Mine is The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is the Illumicrate edition, which has some nice little lines on the side. I read this author's first book last year, which I really liked, and then I heard about this one, which is like sapphic fantasy adventure. Someone is like held captive and the other one has to help them or something. I don't really, to be fair, I don't want to go in knowing too much, because that's kind of what I did with the first one and I really liked it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this guy.
So the next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year?
She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Shan. which is like a sapphic fantasy. I think someone said it's like kind of a mix between Mulan and the Song of Achilles. That sounds great. Yes. Song of Achilles is one of my favorite books of all time. And Mulan is a great movie. Really nice, so I'm looking forward to that.
I don't follow a lot what's coming up. However, I am excited for Lore Olympus being published in book form rather than just online. It's a webcomic which you can access for free, but it would be cool to be able to read it in book form also. Yes. So I'm excited for that.
I'm really wondering how it's going to be formatted, because it's like the way that it's done on like Webtoon is really...
It's a long scroll.
Yeah.
So, it will be interesting to see how they fit it into a book.
Or if they just like slap it into the book and then just sell it.
Gave up.
Your biggest disappointment is the next question.
That would have to be trans voices. It's not trans voices. It's cis voices about trans people. Don't bother reading this if you want trans voices. That's all I can really say about this book. Poorly researched at best, malicious at worst. Yeah, I mean, it's a book written by a cis person for cis people about trans people as a kind of, I wanted to learn more, so I wrote a book. What? No. Read people's accounts if you want to learn more. Just seemed like a strange concept. And just the way that it's titled, it draws you in and then it immediately kneecaps you. So, well, you know, it's like trans voices becoming who you are. That sounds like it's excerpts from trans people talking about their lives. It is not. So, yeah, huge disappointment.
Okay, so I have a few, if that's acceptable. Yeah. The first one is this one, which is Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. I don't know, it was just a disappointment. I think I expected a little bit more, because it's like a, not a forced marriage, but they like have to get married to...
Arranged marriage?
By, like political and royalty and stuff. So I was kind of like expecting a little bit more on that front, like the romance bit. Because I felt like the romance is obviously there, and I do like the fact that one of them is a PTSD sufferer because of his previous marriage. So I kind of like how that dynamic worked between them, because the other one is very like, wants to make sure that the other one is doing okay. But I don't know, I just kind of wanted a bit more epic romance than it was in this one. And some of the political stuff got a bit muddled, I think, as well. It was like a lot of character names. Didn't really get who they were, or it was just like, I don't really care because it's not really explained well, whatever. I do want to read the author's next books. I think there's potential in the writing for sure. The next one is The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. I read her first book and I really liked it. And then I was really excited for this one because it sounded like super interesting, and it was just... it fell very flat. I like some of the concepts in this, but the main kind of magical, or it's not really magical, but it's like this game that they play, it was really weirdly described. It was hard to understand like how it worked and how it looked. Because I was just like, imagine like if I saw that, I would just be laughing because it must look absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, it was just a disappointment, unfortunately. Again, I will read the author's next books because I'm sure there must be another book that will be great. And then I mentioned A Crown of Gilded Bones. That was a disappointment. Like, loved the first two books, and the third one was just like exposition upon exposition upon exposition. But I have potential for the fourth one. I'm just like, gotta hold out the hope.
The next question is, what was your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Someone was kind of like reading it, I think someone on YouTube, and I was like, ooh, that sounds pretty interesting, but never read Susanna Clarke. I know she had that massive book. So I didn't really know what I was going into. And then I was like a little bit like, ooh, it's written in diary form. Don't know if I like that. But then I read it and it was amazing. And obviously forced everyone at work to read it as well. So yes. That's what I'm here for.
Mine was When Foxes 1000 by Larissa Lai. This book kind of sneaks up on you. I kind of took a little bit of time to get into it. The whole atmosphere of it is so dreamlike, and it just felt like I was in a dream the whole time I was reading it. And when I think back on it, it's all very fuzzy and vague, which it sounds like it's not good, but it really, really is. Plus, it's like sapphic as well, and there's just kind of the atmosphere of it was so good, and I don't think I've really felt that for a lot of books. So I kind of went into it thinking, oh, this will be a fun read, and then I came out of it being like, whoa, wow. So yeah,
That's the best feeling. Favorite new author, and it can either be a debut or new to you.
Mine is Mary Oliver. This is not a debut. I think she's dead now. However, I don't think I had ever read anything by her before, and I really liked it. It's kind of nature-y poems. Also, she was a lesbian, but it's not like lesbian poetry. And it is, but it's not about being a lesbian. She just is a lesbian, and it's lesbian poetry. But I don't know how to describe it. But super good. I really enjoyed it. I think people should read her.
I was thinking about this a lot, and I am gonna say, like a lot of the books I read this year has been new to me authors, so most of them, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot of authors I want to check out again, but for now I'm just gonna say Emily Henry. I did read Beach Read last year, so I knew of her, but I feel like with the 2 books now that I read by her, I'm definitely like gonna check out whatever she published from here on out. I might even go back and read her old books because I really like her writing.
The next question is your newest fictional crush.
Again, I have 2 because I can never decide. This pops up all the time. So Alex Nielsen, from this one, I just thought he was like, I mean, to be fair, if I knew him in real life, I would probably dislike him. But he's very like, everything needs to be in a certain way, and he's very like pedantic, which is fine, but I feel like I would probably go a bit nuts if I knew him. However, he was really sweet in the book, and I really wanted like some chapters from his point of view. I thought that would have been really nice. And then a Hawk from Forbidden Ash. I mean, he can come and knock on my door and it will be fine. You can see all the colors here. I just liked him. Again, I think if I knew him in real life, he would drive me up the walls. But in book form, he is acceptable. The standard for every man.
Yes. This is gonna be really weird, but it's an actual real life thing. I don't really have crushes on characters. I don't read a lot of fiction to begin with, so that helps. But The Long Man of Wilmington, I can't decide if I want to be him or like be with him, but he has no face. He's just a silhouette, and I love him. That's the ideal body. The ideal body. There's like, he's just a silhouette. I mean, it could be a woman. We don't know. There's no genitalia or anything, which sounds odd, but there are genitalia on some of the other figures that are in this book. And so he's, the Long Man of Wilmington is a real thing that you can see, but he's not a real person, which is why I'm counting him as fictional, because you can see him in Wilmington. Someone carved out a figure on the side of a hill, and that's the Long Man of Wilmington. He's who I want to be when I grow up.
The next question is, who's your favorite character?
Mine is Tater from Check Please. I reread them, and I had read it before, but then as I was rereading it, I realized how much I love Alexei Mashkov, or Tater, from the series. He's just such a sweetheart, and I just want him to give me a big old hug, you know? What about you?
Mine is Yuji Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen. Well, so I watched the whole anime and I read the first volume, but he is just a big old himbo and I love him so much. He has pink hair. What's not to love? He just seems like such a nice guy. He just seems like such a wonderful, nice person, and he like seems to just like wants to do good in life. And he's also very strong, which I like.
I think that's a thing that we have in common with our characters, is that they're both kind of like soft, strong boys who just want to live their lives.
Yeah. I feel like if I knew him, I would get on with him. And
yeah.
What else is there?
Yeah, what else is there?
I really liked his character arc in the anime as well, and I look forward to reading more of the manga.
The next question is a book that made you cry.
Folk med ångest, or Anxious People by Fredrik Backman. It didn't make me cry out of sadness, it just made me cry out of hopefulness, which is my biggest weakness. Well, it's just left me with like a really nice feeling, and there was like some of the quotes in the book. I was just like, yes. Really recommend reading this. It's really, really good. It has a really weird like premise, but I do say stick with it because it's really good.
Mine was a queer anthology of healing, which is like a multimedia collection, mostly poetry, but there's also some visual art and prose. I think it wasn't sadness when I was crying, but it was more kind of like, wow. Things happening in the world, and not everything is like terrible and sad when you're talking about like queer issues. So like being able to move on from terrible things that have happened to you that's hopeful. That's a good thing.
Yes.
So that's why I like this.
Next question is a book that made you happy.
Mine is How to Fly in 10,000 Easy Lessons by Barbara Kingsolver. This is just kind of a fun, whimsical collection of poetry where it does touch on some deep subjects, but it just has a very nice lightheartedness to it that you don't always see with poetry. Poetry can often be quite depressing, or at least very serious. And this wasn't like that, and I really liked that. I appreciated it.
Mine is Darius the Great Is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. This is also a book that made me cry. But yeah, this just kind of made me happy. In like, obviously some of the subject is quite heavy, it's like deals with depression and stuff, but overall just like the way that Darius' family like embraced him, and and him connecting with his culture was really, really sweet. And I think one of the quotes is like, if you don't feel like you were fit in or something, and the family's like, yeah, but your place was missing, or your place was empty. It's like a saying that they have in Iran, I think. And I was just like, oh, that's such a nice thing, like your place was empty before. Just makes me happy and sad at the same time. Anyway, so yes, recommend this book series a lot. I think it's really, really sweet. Also really quick to read, so that's always a good thing.
The next question is, what was the most beautiful book that you got, that you hold?
I mean, I have a lot of beautiful books actually. But I will say the Bridget Collins books in general are really beautiful. The hardbacks, like this is really nice, and then there's always like a nice stencil on the cover and on the back, which is extra fancy. Usually they will just be on the one side, and then usually it's really pretty here. The same goes for the binding. Have the same thing with the hardback. Super nice, and sprayed edges. Everything that an author could want from their book, probably.
Mine is Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was a gift from Tess. It's just so nice. It's got all the art for how they made things and like talking about it. I just love it. I haven't had the opportunity really to flick through most of it, but I know that I will, and I know that I'll enjoy it. So what more could you want from the book?
I mean, that's the problem with a lot of art books. It's not books that you read like cover to cover.
Yeah, you just kind of open.
Yeah, but then it's like, when do I have the time to read it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of like a coffee table book.
Yes.
But we don't really have a coffee table.
I mean, we have one, but it would be
that way. We don't have the fanciness that you would need for a coffee table book.
What book do you want to finish by the end of the year?
I kind of have two. I have Gender, a graphic guide, which I got not that long ago. and I kind of just want to read it so that I can have read it. I want to have got there. And then I also have these, which is the Oxford Library of English Poetry, which I got from a charity shop, and they look so pretty. I'm reading one at the moment, and it's a little hard going. So I'm hoping that I'll at least finish one of them by the end of the year, and maybe more. There's 3 here. But yeah, I just had to get it. It's just so good. Yeah, it just looks so good.
It is very nice. I like the roses.
Yeah, it's just like nice. And then they're like bound really well. They
Nice.
smell a little musty, but you know,
But that's just
that's
books.
the price you have to pay for old books.
Mine is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I think the 3rd one is coming out in November or December. And I have the 2 first books, so I kind of want to read them before that. But I feel like this is probably like an August or September read, maybe, seeing as I have quite a lot of books to read this summer. But yeah, I look forward to this. I've only heard good things, so.
The last question is, who is your favorite book community member?
I'm gonna say Kyla from Books and Lala and Jessie from Bow Ties and Books. Both of them do really good book content. I think Kyla has really interesting ideas for videos, and she seems very sweet. And Jessie does a lot of good book recommendations from like things that I normally wouldn't read. And both of them read like a lot of horror and thriller, which I don't read, so it's always nice to get like the scope on those books, even though I might not read it myself.
Is it cheesy to say you? I don't actually watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Yes, of course.
I've quite liked Fictional Fates. Joel, I think his name is. I don't actually watch that many videos.
Shame.
I know, but I do a lot of other things, so I just don't, there's not enough time in the day to do all of that.
You gotta take time. Invest in your community.
That's true, but so far I'm also involved in like the crafting community, and that takes up a lot of time. So maybe I'll try to get more involved in the second half of the year.
Yes. That is it. Woo! That is our first half of 2021. Can't believe we're here. That's disgusting.
It is. Oh my god.
Yes. But yeah, lots of reading. I'm really happy that I managed to surpass my goal of the year.
Yeah, that's very exciting. I'm almost there. I'm estimating possibly July. I'll also reach 50 books.
Look at us.
I know, it's so exciting.
Look at us. We're nerds.
I don't think I've read this many books in quite a long time.
I never read this many books. I'm hoping for 100, but I also don't want to like
put too much pressure.
Yeah, but I feel like it's doable now, probably.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll have a slump in like September and not read anything.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was feeling like I was kind of slowing down, and I don't think you can really tell based on the number of books that I've read. I just have felt a little more sluggish and not really willing to start books.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll get a second wind. I have a few books that I've got my eye on, so I'm thinking about them, but I just haven't got there yet.
Tell us in the comments how many books you've read, what was your favorite books so far in this first half of 2021. Like and subscribe and follow us on all our social media.
Yeah, we have Instagram and Twitter and Goodreads.
Yes, the Goodreads is still not set up.
We're there but not there.
Yes. So the best way to follow us is probably on Instagram, where we're the most active.
Yes. We do stuff on Instagram. So
we do.
Come hang out with us there. Let us know how you feel.
Yes. How are you doing?
Yeah. Let's check in halfway through the year.
Yes. Hejdå!
Bye!